This conference will now be recorded.
Is that like a real person you meet at work?
If it
No.
used to be,
Did
then
we?
it was years ago, because that hasn't changed for 10 years at least.
I think we literally started the last meeting saying the same exact thing, by the way.
Was I the same person who made the joke?
Yeah, and I think Evie stepped in with the same exact comment
Yeah.
too. We can go back and
Yep.
see the recording. It's awesome.
So that's a to do for the next time. Repeat it.
Exactly.
Okay,
Um,
let's
Maybe
go.
we'll wait another minute or so, kind of let some people filter in. Anyone who's hanging around. We got 50 reminder notification, or sorry, reminder, or 50 people opted into the notification on Discord. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout. Um, yeah, they're filtering in right now. There you go. We'll wait another, minute or so and give them a chance. Hey, there's Damien.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Caleb,
Hey,
long
Caleb.
time no see.
Long time no see, Dan. David.
Hey, guys. Cool.
Where's Oren?
He'll probably be joining.
Oh, Sean. How's it going?
Hey, there's Sean.
Now Sean's here, we can really get started.
Awesome. Well, this is recorded, so anyone who's missed the first portion of it can definitely go take a look afterwards. I'll post this on YouTube on our SolidJS channel. That being said, Dan and I are both going to take on the responsibilities of today's meeting. We're trying to bring a bit of a more formal structure to these events, but also have that element of informality as well. We did write out an agenda, so we have a structure to this whole call, and there will be moments for individuals to interject, ask questions, and um, make comments. We also have one or two demos. Well, at least Fabian and Moshe will be demoing some of the work that they've been doing. If there's anyone else interested in demoing something, please let me know. Sorry. Um, and yeah, so I guess let's get started. Dan, do you wanna start from the top, or I guess yeah,
Yeah,
why don't we introduce the team?
where can we start? Like, it's good to see. I think most of core is here. I see Milo with his video off. I have seen some progress on from him on a bunch of like Vite stuff, I believe, but I won't speak for you. Alexandra's here too, which is awesome. Um, we've got yeah, I think the whole team is here. Both Ryans are here, so it's good to see y'all. Um, and yeah, I actually don't know what your next slide is. I'm kind of curious.
Oh, well, according to our agenda, Dan, we're gonna go right into the first few pieces of information. So, I guess back to me now. So I guess just starting with sponsorship updates. By the way, this entire presentation is based around events or updates for the past, well, since January. Um, so since that time, we did pick up two new sponsors. We're very pleased to welcome Vercel and Div Riots as sponsors, and they're both contributing $100 a month. So thank you very much to both those organizations. Everyone knows Vercel, big player in the space. They're focused on making the web, bringing the web into the future, and that aligns beautifully with what Solid is attempting to do. So we're very, very excited to have them on as partners, and Div Riots, um, a great team. They're actually building a lot of really cool front end oriented products. Have a look at their website and take a look at some of their tools. They recently added solid support. Um, to their front-end design system product, which is really cool. I'm excited to actually have a go at it myself and see where how it can benefit us. So in summary, I guess what I really want to dive into is giving a summary on our open collective to date. So here is basically where we're at. We have a total contribution amount of, it's going down, of 6,800. Really picked up.
Am I the only one missing the audio from David?
Yeah, David, your audio is
No,
skipping out.
it's cutting out for me too.
Yep.
Am I back?
I think
Yep.
so.
Yeah, you're back. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, now
Awesome.
you're back.
Thanks. It's very strange. Okay, so getting back to it, basically we've
lost
had a
your
big
screen
pickup
too,
in
sorry.
sponsorship. Oh man. Oh, technology.
David needs a better Wi-Fi.
I mean, none of us here really understand
Maybe.
technology, so
Right.
Just a room full of
All
technologists,
technology.
right?
So in essence, I just want to spend a few moments kind of having a look at contributors to date. So quite a few here, and it's growing basically every single month. Thank you so much to everyone who's on this list, both individuals and organizations. Special thank you to Netlify. They've contributed the most to date. I believe their contribution is $500 month over month, which is incredible. Like, I'm so pleased to have both Netlify, Vercel, and the range of contributors is amazing. What do we use these funds for? Well, currently they're just sitting there, and we don't really have a purpose for them, to be honest with you. We thought that we might be able to use it on the Solid Hack prize money, but we were fortunate enough to have additional funding come in. Some of these funds were actually already allocated to more legal things, so we went through the process of having the Solid name and logo trademarked. So I'll update on that in a later slide. But this is where we're at in regards to our open collective. So thank you so much.
Does anyone like the idea of solid merch?
It's a really good question.
I think it's a solid
I
idea.
Yeah.
I'll let you
We're
in
gonna
on a
hear that
secret.
pun made at least 5 times.
If we had done some sort of con this year, I would have painted at least part of my car blue when I came in. I was ready to go and get the right colors mixed as a temporary color for my car. It's not happening this year.
Cool. Aww.
You should definitely do it, Evelyn.
I would definitely put stickers on it, though. Good quality stickers. I have stickers from current and past employers. And I think that we should have that. I would buy some.
I would personally sponsor like hoodies for ecosystem members. I think that would be incredible.
I would love that. I
mean,
love hoodies.
There is an opportunity, and we should discuss it a bit more. This idea did come up in the past where we were going to start a small merch shop for like stickers and hoodies and those things. It would be a great way to actually help add to our open collective pot. Okay, so let's move on. I want to give everyone an update on growth metrics to date. These numbers are all from January until now. So I've literally grabbed these stats as best I can from tools like Orbit.love, which is our kind of like CRM for ecosystem that tracks everything in the community across pretty much all channels, and from our analytics on the Solid website. So starting right from the top, Solid website growth is incredible. I mean, that 15% is week over week increase. That's not for actually, I should have made that note in this slide. So my apologies, but yeah, that's a 15% increase week after week. It was hard to extract the exact number because Cloudflare's dashboard is a bit interesting to work with analytics, but yeah, so that number is very, very exciting. We get something like a couple thousand visits a day. Of course, the website includes documentation, so a lot of people are coming for that purpose, but it's incredible seeing that number grow so quickly. Our Discord new members are up 20%. Our GitHub cumulative interactions, everything from contributions to discussion messages, pretty much everything is up 60%. Twitter, this number is a bit strange because we only plugged this in, I think, a month or so ago. But since that time, it claims that our follower rate is up 453%, which I'm not sure if that's a super accurate number, but hey, that's awesome. And then NPM, I just grabbed this from the weekly downloads, and since January to now, I believe it was 12,000. 12,000, now it's at like something like 19,000. So, basically a 32% increase roughly is what we're seeing. So overall, these numbers are looking quite positive. I'm going to have to also re-review these because these are going to be going in our State of Solid article. So these are just, kind of the numbers that I quickly pulled from those platforms. They'll be more accurate once we do publish them. Dan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, one thing about these numbers that, I always try to keep in mind is like these numbers represent more and more people in the community. And so when it comes to things like Discord, like we don't expect the Discord community to stop growing anytime soon. And what that means is that we might want to change some things, but of course we don't want to change anything without feedback. So we've had actually a few discussions pop up about people asking for new channels. You might have seen new channels actually opening up. We've had some conversations about auto threaders, which I still probably want to install in the help channel, but I love any feedback about that. So really, like as we grow, like your feedback is incredibly important because we don't want this to become a community that grows out of hand or grows away from the people who were here from the beginning, which is basically you guys.
Excellent. So let's move on to the next one. And of course, some big news. We recently surpassed our 16,000 star mark, which is quite exciting. I just very quickly pulled the numbers from two close projects to us. So Inferno is currently at 15,338. Solid hit 16,243. And the next one, I guess the next project that we're going to be chasing or we're on their heels of is Alpine.js. And Ryan, actually, I think there might be a project in between us and Alpine that is actually, no, is that right? Alpine's the next one? Okay, got it. Awesome. Yeah. So this chart's awesome. This chart's really exciting. Like this number just keeps climbing. It's really, 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 really cool. And then finally, I just kind of threw this up last minute, and State of JS was released, and the results were pretty spectacular. I want to use this as a moment to have recognition that the survey, it's putting its methodology question aside. Yes, we did well. This is also the reason why I pulled this chart specifically is it really gives you a really fundamental understanding of I guess where we're at and I guess why we achieved such a high number. So for the amount of user count, there was 380, and we got pretty much an 89.5% satisfaction rating. I believe Svelte's right here. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. No, yeah, you can. Right here. I think Alpine is somewhere right here. And then in React and Vue, I think are right here. So it really gives you a sense of like scale for the small amount of users who have claimed to use Solid, get exceptionally good rating. So while these results were very positive and shot us to the top of the list, it really brought a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention to the project, which was amazing. I personally have concerns about State of JS, and I'm also concerned about next year as well. I'm very curious to see how they change the methodology, and I'm also quite concerned that we've climbed so high, we kind of have to see an equivalent rating, or it might look like we're falling off on the satisfaction scale. So while this is a positive, there are some concerns that I have as community manager and kind of like overseeing the growth of our project to date that I just wanted to throw out there. Ryan, I'm not sure if you have any any other comments about this, or if anyone has any other comments about the state of JS stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote an article about that. My thoughts on it. You are right. There is concern there because now it kind of puts on onus on us to prove it year over year. But the truth of the matter is, and you even see this with Svelte, the adoption rate of new frameworks, even when they're winning over mindshare, hand over fist, is still incredibly low. So it's kind of, I anticipate as long as we just continue on the path, keep on doing what we're doing, continuing to bring good features, continuing to show people what Solid's capable of, we're probably going to stay on this trajectory probably for the next couple of years. It just hard. It's a very slow move right on that table. So yeah, that's my general thinking.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement. We'll see what happens next year. Changing the topic slightly, I'll give you a quick update on what's happened with the website. Made a lot of under the hood improvements. We also added a "We Stand with Ukraine" message. The core, I think we took a bit of time to actually get there and deploy this. I wanted to make sure that everyone was super comfortable with adding a message like this. There's always a concern about projects becoming slightly more politically driven. So I really want to take the time, make sure that everyone was super comfortable with it. And then, at a certain point, I think we all felt it was really important to express our support. And so we added the banner at the top. Aside from that, the website also is translated to Polish now. So thank you to the contributors who, yes, Evie, exactly. Thank you to the contributors who brought the Polish translation to the website. It's very helpful, and I believe the documentation is being worked on. I also forgot to mention on the topic of trademarks, actually, we did get the paperwork back, and Solid is officially, or our application is officially with the trademark offices, both in US and Canada. Oh, there you go. Awesome. Keep working on the Polish docs, please. That would be awesome. In regards to our applications, they're in. So at this point, our logo and the title SolidJS is going to be trademarked, or is in the application process in both Canada and the United States. So having protections in both those jurisdictions will be very helpful for us. There are both legal considerations for that, in the sense of no one can oust us from the name, but also it allows us to kind of enforce our brand and our trademark in cases that matter. For example, organization squatters on GitHub or NPM. If we ever wanted to utilize our legal kind of status in that regard, we can. So for that reason, I actually put a logo and trademark notice at the bottom of the website. At this point, since our application has been submitted, we could put the little TM beside the logo as well. I've neglected to do that, but I think we'll hold off on it. As long as the message is at the bottom of the website, we're good to go. Aside from that, there were improvements to the tutorial section. Milo and Alexander, you guys have been amazing in helping us improve it and stabilize a lot of the features. Throughout, we added a couple new examples. Damien recently gave us this really awesome Etch-a-Sketch example that we've deployed on the site, just to show off some more complex concepts, and also a context example, which is very helpful in showing off how context works. Aside from that, I don't think I've missed anything else. So that kind of wraps up the website and growth metric side of it. I guess, Dan, we can go on to you to talk about Docs team and some of the stuff you guys have been working on.
Yeah. Something that. Oh, is someone?
I think Damien said the Etch-a-Sketch was not him. Oops, sorry.
Oh.
I thought. Okay, I forgot who it.
We appreciate all our contributors, even if we forget who did what.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Always so busy doing things. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh yeah, no. Of course. I think I'm most proud of the docs update from this quarter, even though I have the least to show over the last 2 quarters. And that's because I finally managed to put a team together. And that's to the credit of Eric, Eric Domain, and Nick Ciali. Nick came out with this article that we all read. It got to the top of Hacker News, and I said, "Hey Nick, like if you want to come help me on docs, like I'd love it." And Nick was like, "Yes, actually I do." And we've been talking to him a whole bunch. We've had a lot of conversations with him. Eric has already basically revised half the API docs, which these revisions are really important because the API docs, at least for the revised part, now read like a cohesive whole. They reference each other. They develop the concepts of a reactivity in a sort of cohesive way. And I'm just really excited moving forward with that. Another thing we've been doing is really thinking about where we want to go in terms of like content and brand overall. And I think if there was a big announcement we wanted to make about this, David would have made it. But I do want to say that we are thinking about the new site. You guys all know we've been thinking about a new site, and we've really been internally talking about what that might look like and how it might best put Solid's foot forward, especially as we have so much new attention. Nikhil has been prototyping some docs for Solid Start, and what we're going to be doing as a team going forward is combining all the efforts. So what that means is that the components that make up the Solid doc site, and there's going to be more interactive components. We're going to have like TypeScript JS switchers. We're going to have some interactive REPL stuff. And of course, we're going to have the organization components of the site itself. Those components are going to be reused for Solid Start docs. And anyone in the community who wants to create docs for their ecosystem project will be able to use those components too. So I've literally never been excited about where we're going with docs. And I actually have another thing. We announced this a while ago, but I honestly don't think a lot of people saw it. But I've been working on like a Solid introductory walkthrough video. And I'm just going to post the link to the current draft, draft 3, into the chat here, and I'll post it in general later today. And it's kind of ready to go, but I might look into adding some diagrams on the trickier parts. So definitely watch that video. Really thinking about future videos, because it's kind of too late for me to change the entire structure of this video, but I want to know if you guys like want me to do more videos, or if you want to do videos, or what those videos should be about. Shout out to Intelliform, who sort of joined the community a while ago and started thinking about what if we had a Fireship style Solid video. I think someone maybe even has been in contact with the guy at Fireship. But these are all things we're thinking about, and we'd love all your feedback. So yeah, huge props to Eric and Nick, and I'm just super excited about docs. So
The other thing we might want to mention is, well, first of all, Dan, we got the idea for the video actually from Ryan's CoderPad video.
yes.
The walkthrough that he laid out in that stream was just so spot on. And as we were watching it, we just thought, the way that Ryan laid out reactivity, how to bind it to the DOM, and then basically how to use the JSX part, just that natural step process is what really encouraged us to want to transform it into a proper walkthrough. And so the intention for this video is to actually put it right on the homepage in a very clear spot, so that when someone lands on the website, they can instantly click into a video, watch 10 minutes, and have a really good understanding of where Solid's coming from. The following 2 videos that we're thinking about or planning will be rooted in, I guess, additional information to, help convince you towards Solid. Aside from that, Dan, what else do we have to say about the video?
I mean, so this is something you've heard me yap on about a lot, which is we cannot just assume everyone knows React when they hit our website. And so I really tried to build the video so that if this is your first time seeing JSX, you still get it. So that's something to keep in mind, and something we will be keeping in mind going forwards is that we've been seen as a bit of a React competitor, and we are much more than a React competitor. I think I personally switched from Vue to Solid, and I think plenty of users will eventually be coming from Solid from other frameworks than React. So that's something we're going to be keeping in mind in new guides and new videos.
So Dan's actually posted the video in the community meeting on Discord chat. Please have a look at it and give some final feedback. We just want to wrap that up and actually get it deployed on the website. Aside from that,
one thing to note is the resolution in the draft might be low, and that's because I needed to upload it, but resolution can be much higher.
Yeah, awesome. And Dan was right. I did actually reach out to Jeff at Fireship, and he responded, and he said that Solid's very cool, and he's going to potentially look into producing a video for it. He asked me for a bunch of like selling facts or things to focus on in the video, so I kind of gave him like a really intense kind of like outline of things that he may want to focus on, the things to avoid as confusing parts. The whole React thing is something I was trying to get him to move away from and help kind of project Solid in a different light. Okay, so that gives you an update on docs, new members, the video. I guess we can go right into core updates and I guess anything core related from now, maybe a roadmap also for the next few months, until the next community meeting. And I have Ryan slated for that one. So Ryan, if you could give us kind of a walkthrough, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk to it. Unfortunately, I did not have time to prepare any slides or anything of the sort. I just finished a workshop yesterday morning. We have a few more podcasts actually coming out pretty soon here. I was on JS Jabber like last week, and got a couple more lined up, like Modern Dev. A lot of good stuff. Actually, before I even get into the core stuff, there's some cool announcements in terms of that kind of stuff. I've been invited back to talk at React Finland again, and this time they're actually going to like fly me to Helsinki or whatever, or we're not Sweden, sorry, but whatever. And also JS Nation in Amsterdam. There's some big speakers of that one. Evan, you, Sarah Drasner, Tobias from Webpack and whatnot. Essentially, there's a lot more buzz and conferences and stuff coming now that things are opening up again. So I'm looking forward to all that. I'm also super stoked on the video that Dan was just talking about. I've had this idea in my head since like October, and I keep on like trying to do it, and everyone's like, no, we need to do it good. And I was like, okay, fine, you guys can do it good. But I've been trying to. I wanted to do this on stream actually. Like I had this whole narrative, and then I was sitting there with Corbin, and I, like literally last minute, I had no plan, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this right now. Sorry, David. But I'm glad everyone liked it, and it served as an influence for these new set of instructional videos that we can have on the website. Talking core, couple focuses here. I'm very prescient about that there will be a Solid 2.0, and that's not this quarter, but it is something that work will be going to later on in the year. And for that reason, a lot of the shifting and stuff right now is both kind of around looking at how we support Solid Start, kind of some more of the details there, and what it means for the future of reactivity and stuff, so we can kind of prepare, because 2.0 obviously being a major version will have probably some breaking changes, and I want to kind of situate stuff in such a way that the transition seems obvious and that we're already building towards the right patterns before we go and deprecate or remove a few things or change a couple details. I'm not expecting anything like drastically large. It's more internals stuff, operation, like execution stuff. So spending a lot of time looking at reactivity again, seeing a lot of conversations in the reactivity channel to that degree, and more immediately, 1.4 should be coming around the door in the next month, which will sort of align some of those concepts and ideas around reactivity. I'm also looking back at the spread operator. It seems the spread operator in JSX is just a pain, If we get bugs about the spread a lot. We've done a lot of improvements over the last few releases on spread, but it's one of the trickiest ones because we're taking something that is conceptually very, how should I put it, almost like it feels like I'm not gonna say imperative necessarily, but it feels like something that you like kind of just, as you call it, put the arguments in, and we're expecting this object to exist throughout time. So there's a lot of complexity about the everything updating, even though it looks like it's just kind of like being called with all the arguments. A little technical, but essentially work into spread, work into some of the kind of core pieces on reactivity, especially looking at batching in the effects and what that means for us. Because I think that's still a place of confusion where we can get things a little bit smoother. But yeah, as I said, a lot of this, the other area here, focus for 1.4, is continued work on our experimental features around resources. Nailing down the proper data primitive for suspense data fetching is a hard thing. So hard, in fact, that React decided not even to do it. So essentially, we're still working through that, and there's going to be some changes to some of those experimental features. We realized that refetch resources, like the general one, was too generic. It didn't handle the use cases properly. So a lot of looking into how we can extend resources in a way that lets people still build their solid query. Shout out to Turbo Query, another new caching system on top of resources that was just created, and libraries like that, so that like they can still give these better experiences, but we still have the means to essentially do some high level orchestration, right? Because routing is key, as I've been emphasizing for a while, and especially with Solid Start, we really want the ability to kind of remove the burden of people to only kind of opt into caching and these more complicated situations that they need it, and that have a base experience that is really simple to develop with the tools provided. And for Solid Start, that's really just a marriage of a few of our libraries and some Vite plugins. Nikhil's been doing amazing work there, adding some of the core pieces that we need, right? Huge improvements to CLI. We now have templates available that work in JavaScript or TypeScript. You just choose the mode. They work in server rendering or not server rendering. It's actually really cool what we've managed to do there. We actually have client-side templates now in Solid Start that get to leverage a lot of the same Vite plugins. Sure, you can always opt out of using any of the particular features, but essentially stuff like file-based routing will be available in client-side templates too, because really our router is isomorphic. So the same kind of loader patterns as it's getting deemed these days by called by like Remix, but those kind of our data functions work the same. So we can leverage all the same sort of file-based routing and like inline export functions and all the kind of niceties people expect. So that's a huge thing on Solid Start. Another huge piece is server functions, which are giving us a type-safe RPC protocol that basically drives everything, which is really interesting and I think really cool. And I want to demo it coming up here, because while it lets us do a lot of traditional stuff like the API calls and things you might expect, like it is, and progressive enhanceable forms, which is another big feature, the kind of the remix feature that Nikhil added to Solid Start. These server functions essentially can act as like the communication layer, the transport, so to speak, and is super, super powerful because it's not tied to the conventional idea of routing. So this gives us amazing ability to be really, really flexible on how we design APIs on top of Solid, because if you want to define 10 forms on one page, I mean, I'm not suggesting you do that. You can. Like, we just essentially, these are all just basic primitives that can work together quite well. And I'm really excited to show that off. Which brings us to like, where is Solid Start in general? We are getting close. As I said, the caching data refresh piece with the routing and maybe the router preloads is sort of like that last part of the puzzle that we're missing in terms of the feature set that I want to get for the beta to go out the door. But the biggest gap, and the thing that was already mentioned, is docs. I don't want to launch this without docs. And while the big shifts aren't really happening anymore, and things have kind of gotten relatively stable enough to call it beta. I think we need to get documentation so people can actually use it. And when I say stable enough, I mean if you're not using Windows. We still need to test on Windows more, and it seems that every Windows user who uses SolidStart will find a bug. It's just guaranteed. So, you know, there's some of the more used paths, like some of the, how should I put it, like some of the adapters that get used all the time. Those definitely have been more tested on Windows, but some of the ones that haven't been used as much need a bit of love. And even going to beta isn't going to save us necessarily from like having a bunch of bugs still, but this is all about not making less breaking changes and making things structurally good, in which case I think we are pretty much there, just nailing down those last few features. So I'm pretty excited that I imagine in the next month we'll have a more announcement here in terms of what SolidStart looks like. And really, between the 1.4 release and SolidStart, I think those are the big news items that we should be looking for in the next month or so. Right, with a bit of talk probably through the summer about what Solid 2.0 will look like. There might be a 1.5 before 2.0, maybe even a 1.6, but generally I think that's sort of the range in terms of timing and what and sort of features and sets towards moving forward. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I got on for.
We had it sort of became an impromptu community meeting when you demoed SolidStart for us. That was one of my highlights of March because it really has developed, not just internally, like the API has changed over the past few months, and it's great. It's really exciting. Like,
MDX support, I should have mentioned that too. Nikhil's like added a billion things. I can't remember them all. This is huge. This is the first starters that we have where people can just like pick up and make a doc site like much easier than in the past.
the plan is the new doc site will eventually be on SolidStart, but in the meantime, docs is definitely a priority. I'm going to be helping out myself on SolidStart docs.
Yeah, I look forward to that. We do. You know how I am. I like finish the development and I'm like out the door, out the door, out the door. I'm getting very close to that point, so I'm going to be bugging people more and trying not to leave it to me to write the docs myself, because that's what usually ends up happening. I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm just like,
I
I
mean,
need this out
Nikhil
now.
and I have already touched base about talking later this week about just really getting this jump started, and part of that is like I want to use SolidStart myself. I want to really get into it because we're early enough that if a small API thing needs to change to be easier to understand, we can do that.
Yeah. This is, even when we go into beta, what's essentially happening here is I'm not promising no breaking changes. It's just I think we're going to enter like this next stage where we can really use it and see what it's like for more things than just trying to show people how fast we can make hacker news on Cloudflare Worker. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for that update. I think a lot of people are really excited about what's coming down the pipe. I'm really excited to hear about 2.0 and where that's going. Okay, cool. So the next thing on our list is...
Sorry, one more moment business. We haven't mentioned this, and this did happen during this 3-month period, which huge shout out to, I don't know the name, but the username's like Terrific Come, and they work on the Solid mod thing. But they managed to get us the SolidJS organization on NPM. Which is huge because we took us a while to get the GitHub repo, but we now have the organization NPM. So again, timing wise and thinking 2.0 is probably when. I think, I don't know about core itself because I know it doesn't match, but sometimes I like having like the non-repoed core, non-organized core because it's shorter. But generally speaking, I think most of our libraries are going to move under the @solidjs/router or @solidjs/blank npm things towards the end of the year, probably aligning. We'll probably start doing it, maybe during the summer, but by 2.0, like hopefully most things will have moved over under that. So I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, I forgot about there's so much information to kind of like distill in this agenda that we are missing details every once in a while. So I'm going to quickly move into ecosystem updates. We're going to try to keep this really really short, really tight. There's a lot that's happening in ecosystem across the board. The first thing I want to focus on is, let me quickly share my screen, a quick update on SolidHack. So in case anyone is interested, there are 8 days, 8 hours, 45 minutes, and 12 seconds remaining. So if you're planning on making a submission, you better get moving. Time is literally ticking. Aside from that, some key dates that are coming up. April 7th is submission closing, and voting instantly begins. So we'll be revising the SolidHack website to have a listing of all the submissions. There will be a method where you can actually sign into your GitHub account via the website, and then you'll be able to vote on the submissions. So we're feverishly working to build that platform, and it will go live right on the 7th. So voting will end on the 28th. We'll tabulate all the votes, make sure that everything looks good across. I think what I really want to state here is we want to make sure that this is a fair process. So that time between voting ending and the 4th gives us an opportunity to actually look through all the information, ensure that all the submissions were correct, all the voting was fair, and on the 4th, that's when we'll actually announce the official winners. Currently, if you weren't aware, we do have a repo for the SolidCap submissions. So if you go to SolidJS/SolidHack-submissions, all the information on how to submit are listed here, and the hack.solidjs website. If you click right now, we have a bunch of pull PRs that are waiting approval. So we're going to be going through and actually validating these before merging them in. Once they're merged, it means that the submission was officially accepted into the competition. We also have Oren, I think, working on a GitHub action to help validate that at least the package JSON, the basic rules are being met when a person submits. So if there is an error, then the user would basically get a notice that they are not doing something correctly. Moving on to some other information, we had a Christian basically popped up the other day and said, hey, would it be cool if I created like a dynamic banner creator for the community? And I was like, yeah, that would be, that would be awesome. And so he whipped together this Cloudflare worker that dynamically generates banners for us. So you probably remember seeing our banners throughout all our repos. I typically go ahead and just kind of like produce the assets, but now anyone can come in and actually link directly to this, the instructions on how to change things like add community to the banner title and change this right here. It's all dynamic. So go and have a look at that. It's a neat core project that you can start making use of in your own solid-based projects. And yeah, I mean, Ryan already mentioned it, but Triviker, I can't say his name correctly, also started the CodeMud project, which if you head onto our Discord under the community channel, or sorry, community category, we have a channel just for conversation related to this. And so the attempt here.
I still don't understand. What is this?
So I'm probably going to mulch this as well, but basically the idea is it's a utility to help port your React code base to Solid. And, there are limitations in what we can do with that, but imagine just running it through this and it covering at least all the base cases. Like maybe it'll convert the types, maybe it'll convert your React components into Solid components, and, basically do as good of a job as you possibly can with a utility like this. I'm sure Ryan will chime in with kind of some of the limitations and the places that we can go with this. If not, don't worry. But I mean, there is a conversation happening in that Discord channel. Please participate in that. This is a really, really cool project. It would be awesome to see it actually get off the ground. Like I said, there are going to be limitations to what this utility can do, but if it ends up coming to fruition and solving, I guess, half of the complexity of migrating your React code base, that's a huge win in my opinion. Obviously, there's nuances between a virtual DOM and reactivity that I'm not sure we can effectively solve all that well. But I'm not an expert on the engineering on this topic, so I'm going to steer clear from that. But this is really cool. Please, please give your input and give your suggestions on in the Discord chat. And last but not least, or not last, almost second last. So solid primitives, I've officially moved the project out of my personal GitHub, and it's now part of something called the SolidJS community, which is a new organization that I've spun up to contain projects such as solid primitives. So the intention was to never actually have solid primitives under my account long term. I always saw it as having this new organization. And this organization will be an umbrella to actually adopt any other projects that want to be more community maintained. The problem in the React ecosystem is that typically projects become abandoned or people lose interest in it. The goal with SolidJS community is to bring them under one, I guess, one body of control and have other people become more directly involved in it. If something how we got a project to this community? I'll answer that question in a second, Eric. The idea is that this is, again, not core. This is core member maintained. So we're trying to separate projects that core has a direct responsibility for and projects that are at an arm's length to it. So primitives is a very good example of that, even though myself and now, I think we're up to 5 or 6 other people maintain it. It is not officially a core responsibility. Eric, to answer your question, I mean, really, we don't have a process for it yet. We're trying to develop what that process would look like. Maybe this is worth actually having or maybe this conversation can actually have happen in the community meeting channel, or maybe just the community channel in general. But if people have suggestions on projects that they want to bring over, please reach out. I mean, we'd love to have a conversation on how to develop this process and make decisions in that regard. For now, solid primitives is the first one in there. I do have a second idea for an upcoming project called solid adapters, but that's still very much a concept in my head that I think I want to talk with a bunch of people in our community. So let's have a conversation about how we should utilize SolidJS community now and in the future. I think it could really be a strong force for the whole ecosystem. So I guess putting general ecosystem details aside, we usually have community demos, and there's a lot of incredible work that's been happening on things like solid primitives. A lot of solid hack submissions been popping up, and I just kind of want to take an opportunity now to give the community an ability to demo what they've been working on. And so the first one I want to bring up is, let's do Mushy first, actually. Mushy, are you around still? Where are you? Yeah, there you are. Why don't you give us a demo on what you're working on?
Okay, 1 second. So, how do we share? So, for those who don't know, there's a project called Lexical coming out of Facebook right now. Lexical is poised to be the React of text editors. It's not built with React. It's a completely custom implementation built and customized, optimized specifically for text editors. And currently you can get it on NPM. You can find Lexical there, which is the core library. And then there's, under the Lexical namespace, there are Lexical React and other libraries that you use together with it.
Can I throw something out there just for anyone who isn't aware? One of the main developers on this, probably the one championing it the most, is Dominic Ganaway. You've seen him in our chat. He's the original creator of Inferno JS, who left and went to go join Meta. And he's been very much emphasizing how Lexical's built with incredible performance in mind, that he built a custom reconciler just for this very specific purpose of text editing that goes beyond anything you like a general purpose JavaScript framework would ever use. Okay, just wanted to say that.
Thanks. Yeah, so in addition to this Lexical core library, there is built on it, there is the Lexical React library. So this library makes it fairly easy to build text editors, literally just a few lines. This is basically the whole plain text editor, I guess, and very, very straightforward to just compose with JSX, compose different components and plugins into one large editor instance. So I've been working on porting this to Solid, that you can use this in Solid as well. So I actually have your, so here's more or less the same code you just saw in that npm package, that readme for the npm package. And if we load this up, you'll see that this comes with a few features. So you first create, okay, here's the top level JSX component, which has to contain the rest of it, where you pass in your config, which contains things like, okay, your theme and different things. And then you have your, okay, the plain text plugin, so that way we can write plain text. And then there are 3 additional plugins, which we'll see in a second. So here's plain text. We can type things. Literally just plain text, not fancy in any way. There are other plugins if you want more fancy things like making things bold or any other kinds of rich text. Apparently someone made a code editor with this, but the plain text plugin is just plain text. Then the second thing here is second plugin here is onChange, which is literally just logs the state. You hook into whenever you type and you log the state to the console. We're not going to show that, but then here's the another additional plugin where you have the history. So if I can go back and undo and redo all of my changes, including yeah. So then the final thing here is the tree view plugin, which that is, you have to build it slightly custom here. It's basically just looks like this. But what that results in is this whole tree at the bottom showing you the structure of your text, and also this time travel pane, which lets me go back and forth of the state of as I was typing this, which is pretty cool. Of course, yeah. And that's all I have for right now. I started this right at the end of last week, and we're making some progress here. Interestingly, I actually, while we were during this meeting, one of the developers of Lexical and Lexical React, actually commented on their Discord that taking a look at my port, they've seen that they could actually extract a lot of the code in Lexical React out of the React lexical and keep Lexical React very thin and React specific, which would be great for maintenance of this package as well. Is if we could share as much code as possible, because a lot of the code is really just generic and only very few hooks actually being used by the package. So yeah, that's all there is for me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Moshe. I'm so happy to see this coming together because it's going to be a really, really exciting project as it grows. But I also love the fact that you're impacting what the Lexical and Lexical React teams are doing. So that's amazing. I love to see Solid members really in there and helping other projects along as you're trying to build something that is Solid specific. That was a really cool demo. Thank you. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the code editor. I mean, that's kind of the thing that's been in my mind. I really want to see how that comes together when someone actually builds it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I want
cool.
that one too.
I think we all do. We want to be done with Monaco and just move on from that world. Latex editor, yes, that too, Dan. Absolutely. Okay, so now I want to call up Fabian. Fabian's been working on a project I think that we've all been paying attention to, and this is another Solid Hack submission. And so he's written Hope UI, which is really, really cool port of the Chakra UI. So Fabian, if you're around, take the reins and show us what you got.
Hi everyone. So my name is Fabien and I'm a French developer. Yes, I'm working on the Hope UI component library. So let me share my screen.
No.
So I need to quit Chrome and rerun. So macOS, let me share the screen. So
That happens to me all the time. Like it's very normal.
This is why I'm going to switch to Arch Linux.
Exactly.
I think there's no way in hell I'm switching to Arch Linux.
That's funny
This is
because
the
it
new
happened to Ryan last stream as well.
What?
It happened to Ryan last stream as well, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Very weird because I'd definitely given it permission before.
Yeah, I know this problem actually because I'm the one working on this current meeting software, and this is an issue in macOS versus Chromium, and yeah, it's ugly. You don't want to know.
The solution is we just fit the entire OS into Chrome using WASM, like we've seen demos of, and then we're good.
Yeah, it's interesting though. It might not be beneficial to performance. Though I'm up to no Windows. Linux,
Solid Windows.
please.
Just run it on a
So-
M1 chip. I'm just kidding.
You might run into legal issues there, Eric.
Yep. Okay, let's let.
I think everyone see my screen now.
We do.
Yep, we got it.
Okay, good. So OpUI. So OpUI.com. OpUI is a component library that is heavily inspired by Chakra UI and uses Stitches, the CSS in JS library made by the guys at Modules. So you can go to the documentation website at opui.com. And
if I can interrupt just a second, we only see a frozen screen of the Gotomeeting screen. I don't know what anyone else is seeing. Looks like Eric is also.
Now it's resumed.
Yeah.
I think you are selecting the wrong screen.
But when you drag that window around, we see what's behind it, actually.
Yep.
Here you see the docs, or no?
No, currently still see Gotomeeting.
Currently see the meeting, yeah.
Oh, it needs to be in the same window, I think.
Yeah, it needs to be active.
There we go. Beautiful.
There we go. Yeah. So OpUI has currently a Typeprops API like Chakra UI, so you can add Typeprops to your component and make your style inline. And that generate CSS classes at runtime. You have responsive API, global style. You can enhance native HTML element with the Hope factory, or enhance existing component like a solid app router link and make it stylable as typeprops. You have theming, you have support for CSS variable, you have built-in dark mode. So adding dark mode is as easy as calling the hook and pass the toggle color mode in a button. And here you have dark mode, and you have over 40 components actually, from all layout component, grids, stacks, box, etc. Buttons with different variants, adding icons, loading status, and more complex things like select or drawer modal. So select, you can have the base select like this, or go crazy since it's almost the API is the same as a Radix UI select, so you can go crazy and do something like this. So don't do ugly thing like this, but it's possible. And it follow where ARIA design pattern, meaning if I go to the select basic usage, I can use a type ahead, and for example, if I click V, I go to view. I click option up, it selection view. If I click, I type S, it goes to Svelte. If I loop through S, it loop over the items that start with S, etc., etc. It have all the ARIA attribute. When it comes to modals and drawer, they are scroll lock and focus trap. I don't know if I can. Did you see my VS Code screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what I want to show is how easy it is to port a Chakra UI code to OpUI. So I will go to the Chakra UI website and pick this little cards here in OpUI. So I have a basic SolidJS project. I've installed OpUI, Stitches, and Solid Transition Group. And in the index.html, I wrap the whole app with the op provider coming from OpUI. And in app, what I'm going to do is to go to the Chakra UI website, the import of Chakra, and move it in my app. So it's not gonna work. And change the import to OpUI/solid. And now I remove all my code and pick the code from Chakra UI. So I'm in Chakra UI and move it here. So nothing gonna work. I'm going to update little things so it work to get this result basically. Okay, 3000. First thing to do is that in OpUI and Stitches, if you want to use a team token, you have to prefix it with a $sign. So here, dollars. The flex component, there is no align shortcut, but align items. Empty, here it's $true. Color scheme, I don't have pink, but I have a purple one called accent. Margin left, $true. Text transform uppercase, font size, $SM, font weight, $bold, and color, $accent 11. Here, margin top, $true. Font size, $XL, font weight, $semi-bold, and 98 color short. Here, same thing, $true, and align items, center. Text, $1, font size, $SM. I don't have in OpUI an icon set like in Chakra. So to create these little stars, you can use the create icon function from OpUI. So basically, I will create a component, const icon star equal create icon. This function takes two params. The first is the view box. I'm going to pick an icon from Radix icon. Icon star. The view box of Radix icon is 15 pixels, so 005015, and I pass the path as a function that returns JSX and copy the code from the star field icon of Radix UI. I don't need all that SDG stuff and that path. Then that icon, I replace the box with that icon and make the color as $warning9 and done. Oh, the border is ugly, so I'm going to go here and say border 1px solid $neutral 7. Boom. Op UI, Chakra UI. And out of the box, it has dark mode, so use color mode. I grab the toggle color mode function, and let's say if I click on the box, even if it's not accessible, on click toggle color mode, and now build in dark mode.
Wow. That's honestly so cool.
Yeah, this is super exciting. We're seeing a lot of like CSS solutions popping up. And it's just like something like this just makes things way easier to get started.
On that note, let's look at some of the comments because they've just been flying in as you've been demoing. So first of all, Eric says that he really likes the documentation page. It's very easy to navigate and see all the API examples. Very, very well done. Dan said, as someone who's new to Chakra UI, is the idea to have a component library where every component is directly modifiable with props?
Like it seems like we're combining two ideas here. One is stitches and the other is like Bulma, right? This is both.
So the idea of OPUI is it's a design system, so it's opinionated, but it headlessable, meaning that, for example, in my company, we don't have dedicated time for design and stuff like that. So it's I work in healthcare, and typically they just want to pick a component library that looks good, change the brand color to fit their brand, change the primary color to fit their brand, sorry, and move on, build stuff. So it's the basic usage of OpUI, and I think most people that take material UI libraries, Bootstrap, etc., is they don't have design skill and they want to build stuff. In other cases, they are users of Headless UI library who want to build a design system. And the problem I have is that, for example, if you take Radix, you have awesome accessibility, but if you suck at design, it's gonna be ugly. It's accessible but ugly. And on the other hand, if you take things like material, it's look good but not customizable enough. And OpUI try to sit in between, so it provide good design basics, but the API is composable enough to basically build what you want. For example, in the documentation page, I've shown you the select component. You can basically customize every part of the component. And when I've built this, I've seen that in the code base, most style is just one stitches classes. So it feasible to extract all the logic in so-called primitive components and expose both already styled and unstyled components too.
That's awesome. We had another question from Evie. Are you looking to maintain feature parity with Chakra going forward, or is this the initial implementation to help increase adoption?
The plan is to port almost all Chakra UI components, and then grab someone from. I used Mountain in the React ecosystem too. So, for example, in Chakra, you don't have a select like the one I've built. You don't have pagination and all stuff like that. So it will be Chakra UI like plus other components that people need, and that it's basically in the pro version of Chakra, which is paid. And I hope to port all of these components in OpUI in the free version of OpUI.
Awesome. That's amazing to hear. Eric says, I like that you also support headless components. Those are interesting for those who want custom designers. And then Nikhil said, the unstyled options could be used with solutions like Tailwind's CSS. Is that part of the plan as well?
But actually, you can install OpUI and don't use the style props and use pure stitches or Tailwind CSS or whatever. So you don't have to make style with the style props. And for the headless component, there is no classes, so you can style it with whatever you want.
Amazing. Well, merci. That was a really awesome demo. Does anyone have any other questions?
or demos
other
if
questions?
anyone wants to jump in and demo something.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
actually,
Anyone else?
we've definitely gone over the hour, so like if you want to leave.
I can demo next.
Yeah, before you jump right into it, I do want to kind of conclude and then kind of open up the floodgates for questions, comments. Please hang around for as long as you'd like. But we've covered all the topics that we wanted to. Thank you, everyone, for being an awesome community. There's so much happening. I'm really excited to see what the next quarter brings us, and we'll be doing our State of Solid release hopefully tomorrow or Friday. So you get to read a bunch of these details there. And I know everyone else has jobs that they have to go back to or actual work. So please feel free to at this point. But yeah, let's move on to another demo. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
I think Travis, was that you? Oh, Caleb, it was you. Yeah, that's right. Are you going to show us shadows?
Yes, I'm going to show you shadows. It's API wise, it's not done, but like I'll just show you what I finished so far. So can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Is the interface in the way, like the go-to? Or you can actually see the whole screen?
No, we can't see the go-to interface. So
okay, awesome, cool. All right, it's just in my way. Okay, cool. So I'll show you the result. So the point of scroll shadows is the indication that it is a scrollable container is that there's a shadow in the beginning, and while you're still scrolling midway, then there's shadows on both ends, and when you reach all the way at the end, then it disappears. And so here's how it looks like component wise. So it's a wrapper, and it's just CSS. So you could put Tailwind in this. And here's the shadow. Here's the class to control the shadow color. So I'm using a global CSS, a global class. I call it shadow blue. But like for example, right now it's blue. So I'm going to change it to green. And voila, now it's green. And what's cool, the reason why I really wanted to make it a wrapper as much as possible is that you can change the children. So like right here, they're just divs. But if you want to be more semantically correct, like make it UL element, and then let's see, list. Oops, I did it wrong. CST. There we go. So ULI. So then now if we toggle the developer tools. Hold up, sorry. There we go, see? unordered list items. So now it's more semantically correct. The other cool thing, the other cool thing is, while like it's a solid, shadow color, you can make it into a mask. So right here, I have a background video, and the mask like blends into, like, because it's a mask, like you don't have to put in a shadow color. It doesn't really matter. So like when I discovered you could do that was like pure CSS and you can animate it easily, I was like, I have to put this in there. And here's what it looks like component wise. I wanted to make it a plugin, but now I think API wise, I'm actually just gonna build it in because it's not that big. It's like probably gonna add like, I don't know, like 2 kilobytes. But yeah, so that's my demo. So let's see, how do I stop sharing?
Nice
Cool.
work, Caleb. That's awesome. Dan said this is the most Caleb thing he's ever seen. I couldn't agree more.
Like the car video in the background of the CSS buttons, like what else could we come up with?
Yeah, but it's awesome. Really cool. It's great.
David gave me like extra kick to push out the shadow mask, because at my workplace I discovered the shadow mask and applied it to like our school of containers. And when David saw it, he was like, I need this like for my personal project. And I was like, oh shoot, I should put this in scroll shadows. So yeah, it's sick. And it's like the mask, it works on all major browsers. It works in Firefox as well, and I'm like, sick. Yeah.
Cool. Does anyone else have a demo?
Yeah, I can do a quick Meteor thing, or
after you, please.
Okay. Luckily, I'm not using a Mac. Did I share the right window though? This one? Oh no, except I can't click the right share button. Oh well. User error. All right. So for those of you who use Meteor, it's now really easy to use Solid in Meteor. I basically only use Meteor. I'm like a crippled person, so I couldn't start using Solid until I wrote all these things, which got me understanding a lot of Solid, which is fun. And thanks to Solid, so Meteor is this full stack framework. It does a lot of things, like it has a build step. It's really easy. But it also has its own reactive system called Tracker. And a cool thing with Solid 1.3 is that you can, with a little bit of code running at the beginning of your program, use Meteor tracked things as if they were Solid tracked things. So you see a mixture here of Solid with here getting the currently logged in user, or here getting something called a reactive dictionary session variable. You can just use those as if you were, as if Meteor was built for Solid, which is pretty cool. And there's this is all with this library called Solid Meteor Data that I'm using in production, so it should be relatively stable, hopefully. Still in the 0 series. But maybe most impressively, it has this find operator. So Meteor also has a nice interface to slices of MongoDB databases, if you're still into Mongo, like I am. And you can do a Meteor style find or Mongo style find. You wrap it in this create find helper, and you immediately get a signal, which is gives you an array that is very efficiently updated. So only so Meteor already does this diffing, so that when there's a new record, say in MongoDB, it will only send over the new record. Client realizes that and only adds the new record to the result of this find. And so only a constant amount of work is done to this array. So all of the rendered children, this is a simple to-do list, stay as they are. They don't get touched. there is a pass over the array to where for checks which things have actually been changed. And each of, so here it is in action. This is a to-do list where it's parameterized by a name. So here my name is solid. It has all these to-do lists, and I can add some to-do items. I can delete some old ones. When I click that, if you check the console logs, it's only modifying the items that got changed. So here I was just adding, something else is happening there. X, Y, Z, it's only rendering those. If I change my name, it automatically subscribes to the other slice of the same Mongo database, and you can add to that. So everything just works is the idea, and everything is super reactive at the fine grain level. Yeah. So if you use Meteor, this is the way to use it with Solid.
Awesome.
That's impressive.
Thanks so much, Eric.
I love it.
So this is what Solid Start was based on, right?
Not exactly, but yeah, I mean, it's another good thing to have. So, if I may demo something small, because all of you brought great and big projects with lots of stuff, I do small increments because I have a day job and 2 kids. I make no secret that I want to rewrite the very web client you're currently using that is written in React. I want to rewrite it in Solid just to fix all the performance problems at once. And a few components are still missing. And one of them is actually an input mask. Component or primitive. Yeah, good thing is this is no longer missing. I think this is the right window, is it? Should be.
Yeah, we can see inputs.
Yeah, it's the input mask, and yeah, and it actually, if I press a key with which is not a number, it does nothing, and numbers will be formatted as they should. Same for the codex priori. I cannot I can physically press and mesh the buttons, but only those that are in the mask will work. And I will not press the shift key, but the mask will also allow me to uppercase these letters. And yeah, for the meeting name, I can insert the name of this meeting, or I can insert a meeting ID, which looks like this. 387021, and then we have these nice dashes here, and this is actually the use that we have for the input mask, and thus the use case that this is originally written for is also fulfilled. So another checkbox ticked, and another step closer to Gotomeeting being ported to Solid, and I'm quite happy about that. So yeah, that's all.
That's amazing. I love it.
So
another fun thing about this is less than half a kilobyte big.
Wow.
It's the smallest input mask ever written on this planet.
It's a bold statement.
I've searched.
Awesome.
I've really searched. The next smallest was a little short of 2 kilobytes.
Was it like a vanilla JS one?
Yeah, actually, it would work as a vanilla JS because it just returns an event handler.
Well, thanks so much, Alex. I am really, I think Gotomeeting using Solid is going to be one of those things. Every time someone comes up on the Discord, they're going to be like, what companies are using it? And we'll be like, yeah, all Gotomeetings.
I mean, it's only fair. If Solid is using Gotomeeting, Gotomeeting has to use Solid.
And like the messaging part that I'm part of, because I also work for Goto, I'm going to start pushing towards that soon.
We need to get
It'll
you guys
help
as
when Alex has a
sponsors.
thing.
We'll just
who do I nag for that, by the way?
Sorry?
We can just threaten your company, like we'll switch to Skype if you guys don't shape up, you know.
We'll never switch to
I don't
Skype.
think that'll work.
Kibosh, vetoed. No. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think Travis, you've been unmuted. Did you want to demo something as well?
Yeah, I mean it's still, this is going to be my solid hack submission. I haven't put it up on the repo yet, and it's still being worked on. But here we go. Oh, and it looks like I have to give permission, even though I've done it. I have a Mac.
You're gonna have to reboot the
Just a
browser.
moment. Quit and
No,
reopen.
Just
a
restart
moment.
Chrome actually, but this not a question of permission. It's a system thing. And Dan,
we should
no,
like
I'm not using Arch. I'm using Void Linux.
we should do like a fake ad for MacBook Pro where we just like take these snippets of people having to I have to restart Chrome, and like we put all those together, and then at the end it's like a MacBook Pro $2,000, you know.
But you can run Linux on it.
You can even run Arch Linux, which is one of the most complicated Linux systems to run on your computer.
Yeah, I don't want.
What I actually wanted to
things.
do is that I have Raycon earbuds, and I wanted to do a video or a stream where I have them in, and they fall off. Even like I've tried to adjust them, and they fall off. And I sort of want to do like the once they fall off while I'm doing a video, go, oh yeah, this video is not sponsored by Raycon.
Yeah, and
well, I'm back.
Sponsor a lot of things.
It's
So-
hilarious because
Yeah,
so many
that's great.
YouTubers sponsor Raycon. Sorry.
I know.
I
that's the
wrote
joke.
this library
The low dash
in React.
I'm sold.
Bedrock.
Okay, let's give Travis some space.
Yes.
So I wrote this library in React, and when I heard about Solid Hack, it was the excuse I needed to go actually do some stuff with SolidJS. So I've been porting it over. This website is still buggy, but the fun thing is like this is all written in Solid and dog food, using my own component library. So it's really fun. The idea of Solid Bedrock is it's supposed to be like you're missing like layout components for your design system, because your typical design system has like 2 or 3 layout components, but then they spend most of their time on their cards and buttons and all that. And there's just so much more to layout than just like a stack or a grid kind of a thing, even though that's what I have. So yeah, that I have a bunch of these layout components, and they do different things. They have a built-in spacing scheme, but you can like override it, use the solid styled components. This is the other fun thing was like I have this masonry grid component, as you can see down there, that like it will optimize, do that Pinterest style like masonry grid thing. Uses the resize observer, and I had written that using like a hook in React called use resize observer, and it forced me to abstract this even more, one level lower, and just create a nice utility around resize observer that's a lot much easier to use than the actual API. I think the resize observer API is kind of like broken, but that's neither here nor there at this point. Anyway, so that's what this is all about. Just allowing you to create different like UI patterns quickly, and compose them together to build much bigger, more complex UI layouts. Yeah.
This is really cool. This is like a very unopinionated component library. It doesn't even care about like what your buttons are. It's like really about the layout.
Yeah, in fact, it's just 100% layout components. So yeah, so the idea is, and I have much more demos, and I want to get these on there, but I may not get them in time for the solid hack. But like, for example, like there's these, you have your 12 column grids, or like there's this aspect ratio. You get that by composing together like 3 or 4 of these things together, like a frame component, a pad box, and a center. Anyway, so
yeah,
that's
I feel
the
like
idea.
Very cool.
One small question: is the result div soup, or do you actually compose these into single elements and a nice?
So they all use solid
mock-up?
style components. So they're also like that has a built-in as prop, so you can also compose them together when it makes sense to like have multiple ones be the same thing together. The one that typically happens the most is like this pad box. Typically, either composes other ones into it, or it composes into other ones using the as prop. I didn't in this case just to make it show a little easier, but
Okay.
and then also the same thing. You can also to get the semantic HTML under the hood. You can also just go like as aside or as
Section
header,
main.
whatever it is.
Yep. Cool. Thanks.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's a great
Anyone
question.
else?
This is built for me. The only thing I know in CSS is Flexbox. So I just use Flexbox over and over and over again in 100 different ways, and I feel like this is like a perfect drop-in replacement for that.
This was actually like I used to be on the design system team at R1, which you probably never heard of them. And this is born out of the idea that when we were trying to create patterns around UI, our designers didn't want to tell the people use grid because a lot of our designers were not technical. And so it was real like, hey, use a cover pattern here, use an inline cluster here. Just to make it a lot easier to communicate what these layout patterns that the designers were trying to use and translate that. That's where this kind of came up from.
Cool.
It makes a lot of sense. That's awesome.
I can't wait to see your submission as well. Thank you for demoing that. That's awesome. Is anyone else interested in demoing, or are we coming?
I can give a quick one short, quick one.
Yep.
Okay, let's see here. I'll just pull up something that I already have running.
You don't want to restart Chrome?
Is it the first person shooter?
I'm in Pop! OS Linux, so I think I'll be fine.
Oh, nice.
Okay, can you see that?
Yeah. Oh wow, yes.
Okay, so this is a Loom scene. I added a bunch of new features, so I'm going to be releasing them pretty soon, but I'll just show a few of them. So what we got in here is Flickering Orb. It's causing this light. It's kind of behind the camera, so you can't see where the flickering orb is, but it's kind of reflecting off the bump map on the texture there. The walls are just 4 planes, so I'm just using Loom plane elements. That way, if you zoom out and you turn the camera enough, you can see the floor and the sidewall. So we're kind of like in a dungeon here. And I put these 4 planes inside of a Loom cube layout. So as the name implies, it just takes 4 items and puts them into the 6 different spaces, surfaces of a cube. In this case, I put 6 planes. Sorry, not 4 planes, 6 planes inside of the cube layout so that we are enclosed in a cube. But at the same time, if I were to put like a Loom sphere instead of a plane, then you would see 6 spheres. Each sphere would be positioned basically on the surface of a cube, if you can imagine that. Let's see what else we got here. Camera rig is what gives the camera interactivity, so lets you zoom in and out and rotate. So this picture frame here. You have a question?
No, Joe. I think the audience is missing a bit of context here. So I'll just step in very quickly. So for anyone who hasn't taken a look at Loom yet, basically it's a 3D rendering library that uses solid reactivity under the hood. As you can see, it's very declarative. You just literally write HTML tags and you get 3D scenes out of it. This demo actually, Joe and I are working together on creating a 3D frame visualization experience, and this is for a project that I've commissioned from him. So we're actively working together to improve Loom's integration with Solid and add extra features on top of it. So what you're seeing is kind of like a working demo of something that we're going to be transforming into a full product that will be Solid powered and Loom powered. So there's the context for you. Continue, Joe.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot we have a couple new people here. Yeah, it's this Loom project, loom.io. Oops. the website, loom.io, if you want to check out the project. But yeah, this is basically. Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like you mentioned making a game with it. Have you made game demos?
I made a small demo of a first-person. I started making a first-person shooter. It's not very far yet, but like it's very simple. My goal here is to make it as simple as possible so that like the most beginner web developer could just paste this HTML and get started. So this is the whole file. It's not very big, but I can show you what it works using how it works using rod.githack. I think I can just copy this here, post this here, open this link, and that'll load the HTML. Here we go. So yeah, it's just so it's the beginnings of a first-person shooter. This gun is just some box shapes written in HTML. So the goal of the first version is going to be to write everything with HTML, but because it's a component system built with Solid, well, it's actually a web component system. All the components are going to be replaceable using slots, so you'll be able to pass in your own models and skin the game when it's ready.
Your demo went from 0 to 100 like real quick. That was insane. I love how many lines of codes is this?
This one is 105 lines of mostly HTML. So it's mostly the gun. So like all these boxes and things are what make up the gun. And so what I would ideally do later is put these into like their own elements or components and then make those reusable. But for now, it's just all dumped into one HTML file. And the same with this example here. This is just all dumped into one HTML file. And then later on, we're going to wrap it in a component that has its own attributes so that, for example, you can put a picture frame somewhere and configure it without, having to deal with all this code here. And they're all built. So all these are custom elements built on Solid. All these attributes, when you change them, they map to JavaScript properties that are backed by Solid signals, for those of you that haven't seen Loom before. So it's powered by Solid reactivity. And when you get an element, for example, here I'm accessing elements with a query selector all. Any properties that you access on these elements are reactive. So if you use these in a solid effect, your effect will rerun when they change. For example, rotation. That's everything's reactive.
Amazing.
I can show one more thing here. So I have this new clip plane element, and the clip plane element is what allows me to kind of stitch the corners of this frame together. So each edge of the frame is just a loom shape with a path, an SVG path, and then I just made sure they stick out past each other, and because they're symmetrical, I can use a loom clip plane to clip them. And the way I did that is I said that this loom shape has clip planes. So it has the clip planes feature or behavior. The has attribute lets you add features to a custom element. And so then I assigned the clip planes that I want to use to clip it. And those are down here. And so it's very HTML-y, like kind of like SVG, right? These are just IDs in a list. And here are clip planes with IDs. And that's how they're being matched.
So the clip plane is a rectangle?
Yeah, the clip plane is just an invisible rectangle. In this case, 250 by 250. And so you can kind of imagine it sitting in the corner here at 45 degrees. And it's causing both of these shapes to be clipped and to butt up against each other perfectly, in a sense.
Awesome.
So cool. Well, we're when we release this, or I mean, I already have a version of this app of the frame customization app in production right now, but once I re-release it, so it's actually currently built in React and Babylon, and with Joe's work, we're going to be rewriting it in Solid and 3. So once that's live, I'll have two comparable, exactly the same code bases, well, feature-wise, that I'm going to be able to compare on bundle size and I guess deployment performance. So I think if there are no other demos, I guess I'll quickly throw this up. It's incomplete, but we'll just end off the whole meeting this way. So for a while now, I've been
If I can
messing
have 2
around.
minutes as well, David, like
Oh
just
yes,
2 minutes,
sorry, Eric.
I can quickly showcase the Turbo Solid thing.
Nice.
But like
Sure.
no more than 2 minutes. I know we're kind of late, so promise.
Yeah,
There's no
I think
such thing
everyone
as late
is
when you're
getting
45 minutes over. We can go all
Yeah.
night. I can go
Sure,
all night. I love
All
this.
day.
So do you want to go first, David, or
it-
do you want to?
Yeah, it's already up on the screen. I might as well very quickly. I'm not going to go into extreme detail. Everyone already knows that I've been kind of throwing this around the channels, begging for help here and there. But I've mostly got the Motion 1 integration going. So you can basically create motion elements and use this presence component, and basically create things like a toggle. So basically what's happening here is using motion to animate it in, and then when it animates out, it's just removing it from, like removing the node and I guess all the graph below it. It's coming along. I think I'm going to re-implement presence again. Now that I've done it once, I kind of understand the logic behind it, but we're getting really, really close, and I'm going to be Matt Perry's actually helping me ship this as official Solid integration, as the official Solid integration for Motion 1. So you'll just import at motion1/solid, and you get native support for high performance animations. And I'm going to leave my demo there because this needs a bit of work still. I will let everyone know when it goes live.
I'm so glad you're
Eric,
working on
your
this. This is awesome.
Thanks.
Will it be actually
Good stuff.
part of the official, integrations on the Motion page?
It will. Right now, they only have Vue up, and I think I noticed in the code, which is closed source, I have access to it, that he's working on a Svelte version of it, but it seems like Svelte is a bit more complicated or tricky to accomplish what he's looking to. So I just took elements of what he did with the Vue integration and the React integrations, and kind of try to come up with a happy medium between both styles that he's aiming for. The API might change as well, but yeah,
Speaking
I mean,
of,
right now,
there was another kind of motion that I was thinking about a while ago, which was framer motion. I was wondering if there was any possibility we could bring that to Solid.
One day it'll happen.
Isn't it the
One
same
day.
project?
It is not, but it's from the same author, I think.
Yeah, I think Matt Perry works on it as well. Okay, I guess Eric, you'll be the last one, and then we'll call it a day.
Just 2-3 minutes. This is kind of improvised, guys, because I was not expecting to kind of showcase absolutely anything. I think I already have the permissions, so let me try to showcase that here. All right, looking good. Perfect. So just like a quick demo of Turbo Solid. So just to give some sort of context, this is kind of like a stale while revalidate library to kind of allow you to manage basically asynchronous data on your Solid applications. I would kind of compare it to SWR, which is from Vercel. Probably some of you already know it. Some others might know React Query or alternatives. Those have a lot more features usually than SWR. But eventually what I managed to do is I've been managing this kind of libraries for a long time. I'm the author of a few similar libraries for Vue and also for Svelte. And when I stumbled upon Solid, I was like, well, I want to use that here too, right? So I kind of created a basis, like a more modern basis than what I had already with the other libraries. And this is what Server Query is about. It's basically, this is like the whole concept of the cache and event system and everything is packed in this package, which is framework agnostic. That's what I kind of wanted to move it away from any reactivity systems. And then so I could plug that into Solid really easy. And actually the integration, it took me only like 100 couple of lines. So really easy to do, really easy to port to other reactive systems or whatever. But in short, what it allows you to do is it allows you to kind of fetch information from your database or your APIs or whatever in a really easy way. So just as a quick example, this is a project that I was scaffolding today to do something about the capture system that we talked with Ryan. But eventually, it's as easy as using the resource, which is create server resource instead of create resource, kind of similar API. And then you can pass it in a key. And this is the cache key. And what's cool about that is that most people can match this key to be the API endpoint that you want to fetch the data. It doesn't have to, but it can. And if it can, it looks very clean, it looks very easy. And that's all you need to do to kind of fetch the information. So actually, the fetcher is very simple as well. So I'm using fetch under the hood. I have a base URL. I just fetch the information based on this base URL and the cache key that I get. The query also supports cancellation or abortion, so you can cancel a pending fetch if needed. So that's why you can use these signals here. You should also throw when there's a for all for. Sadly, fetch doesn't do that automatically, so you have to add this line. And you basically return the JSON data. That's as easy as it is. You can use any like fetching function you want, like Axios. Maybe you have a local SQL database, whatever. And actually, this doesn't have to even interact with the network at all. So this is just a promise, you know. Very easy. You can also configure a few stuff. Specifically for Solid, I have a transition property, which kind of tells you, well, when there is a refetching of a resource, should it do it in a transition or not? You know, very, very quickly to use as well. You can also set up additional options that are kind of detailed in another page. But it's as easy as just adding some context with that configuration. You can also avoid having a context and just using a global kind of instance that I have provided, but I think it's better to just showcase that here. And then anything that's beneath here can actually use those configurations. So then, as I just mentioned, you just kind of call it, and that's it. This will call the fetcher, and you're done. You can also pass additional fetchers, like, you know, you maybe have like specific you know, fetcher, and you have like then, you know, a typical my user key or whatever. It's kind of similar to how React Query does it. I don't know. I just think that it's better to just have it like that. It's much more simple. So what's cool about that is that once you have the data in, you also have some control over it. So for this specific example, you just go to the posts and you can see the list of posts. And I'm going to show you the first cool thing about that. Right now I have a cache of 5 seconds. So if I remove that, I go back here, I go home, it fetches it. And if I do it again, no fetch is going to happen and the data is still going to be here. This is because this navigation has happened while the data was still kind of valid, right? So if I do it now that the 5 seconds has passed, well, another fetch is going to happen, but you still get the feedback immediately. And this fetch happens in a transition in this case, right? So you see all the posts, and then behind the scenes, it's going to refetch it in a transition and push it back to the page. So this can go beyond, right? So I have, for example, I click on the first post, and you're going to see a few controls here. So it has obviously fetched the post, and I'm going to show you the code first, really easy as well. What I want to show is that you have those kind of, I call it actions, very similar in a way as resources work in Solid. So you have the mutate and refetch, but you also have additional ones. But just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to use those two. You can also use, as you see, keys that are dynamic, sort of. They can actually use anything that's reactive here. If this parameter ever changes, we are going to rerun the query. It's very similar to how you can think of it as the signal of the resource, right? So if this signal ever changes, we're going to just refetch it if needed, of course. If it doesn't really change the key, the generated string key, it's not going to refetch. So again, you have some controls. You have a mutation function, a refetching, but you also have additional ones. those may be, for example, there's actually a bunch of stuff that I could showcase really, but you can mutate, you can refresh, you can unsubscribe manually. This is done automatically if you're in a component, so I wouldn't give much of a thought. You can also forget, which will remove the key from the cache, which is kind of like invalidation, or you can avert any pending fetchings that if you wanted to. So kind of cool. We can add more stuff into here in the future. So as an example, I have this mutate function, which will take the old value and it will just change the title of the post. So if I click it, boom, title changes. And I can also refetch it and it's going to get back to the original one. So it's, again, it happening on a transition. You still see the data, no flickering, no absolutely correct, everything. And what's on top of that, if you have like two resources, those could be in different components. I've just kind of went through real quick about it so you could see. But if you have two components using the same key, I'm just going to show it like that, right? If I mutate one of them, all the components that use the same key are going to be updated as well, right? So you see that there's sort of like a synchronization of all the data that is happening under the hood. And this is actually possible by the reactivity system of Solid, right? So I just have like a subscription, and when there's data changes, then every component that was actively listening or subscribed to this change, it's gonna reflect it. So pretty cool, pretty easy. There's a bunch of options, guys, that I don't want to showcase today. It's like a lot of stuff that I'm working on. And there's one more feature that I want to kind of tease about. And if you guys have ever used this kind of libraries, they have something usually called revalidate on network change and on visibility change. This is usually meaning that if you go like on a different tab and then you come back, it's going to revalidate under the hood and just kind of show you the fresh instance. So that's something I am willing to add on the library. So it will revalidate when your network goes back online if you're offline, and it will also revalidate if you focus the application again. So that your application always have like a fresh UI, and also it tries to minimize the number of HTTP calls using this kind of cache mechanism. So that's all I have for you guys today. I'm actually making sure that this all works on Solid router. So this also worked. I've just made some tests, and I was able to make it work as well using the router, data that you can kind of use. So we are planning, based on our quick chat with Ryan today, we are planning to have some sort of way to refetch the whole route information at some point. So I'm trying to play around with the idea of this. But overall, I wanted to kind of show that it's kind of already like 90% done. It's actually everything you see here. It's packed at only 2 kilobytes, so it's really light, and I think it's amazing because it's kind of abstracting you a lot of logic that you don't want to deal with, in my opinion. So that was my quick demo, guys. And I hope if you have any questions, just drop it here and I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. That was a really awesome demo. Are you going to be submitting that for Solid Hack, by the way? I'm not sure if you mentioned it.
Yeah, but for the requirements, I think there's a demo needed, right? So I was kind of playing with the idea of this as a demo. So I'm still kind of in the works. This has been done like 2 hours prior to this call. So yeah, I plan to submit it. I have like a small blog post with the documentation already. So I think I just need the demo to be kind of up. I want to have some, like mind-blowing demo examples, because that stuff kindly happens under the hood, on the network level and on a cache, and some people might miss the cool things about it. So I want to kind of play around with some demo about it, and probably will submit it.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I'm really trying to help people understand is that, listen, this isn't a core judged competition. You literally have to work on selling what is happening under the hood and what is powerful about the framework to the audience. So your README should have a really good, like maybe some GIF images that explain, like recordings of it. Having a live demo as well is something I'm strongly encouraging. That README is really what users are going to be seeing first. So really selling them right off the bat there is really, really critical. But that's that you have a challenge not just in writing the tech, but also demoing it, I'd say. But it's super cool. I think you're going to get a lot of votes from Core on this one, and from anyone that understands the caching complexity of what you're trying to solve here. So thank you so much. Everyone, we're now way past our time. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to call a close to
No,
this
we can keep
meeting.
going. Come on, guys.
Everyone has to demo
Okay.
something.
I will now close the official part and stop the recording.